and I start trying to tug on one to get his attention.
Okay, this is where
He turns around and I let him know I'm in trouble. He turns as if he is about to start swimming fast.
This buddy communication is killing me. No! Hi divers, and welcome back to another scuba diving reaction video. Today we're reacting to Out of Air While Scuba Diving by the Florida Diver. And I mention that name because it doesn't say where the dive is, but I'm just going to assume it's in Florida because a guy called the Florida Diver. Maybe it could be completely wrong, but who knows. So obviously out of air is something we never want to be on a scuba dive. We should always be monitoring our SPGs, our air gauges, and make sure there's always a healthy reserve there so that we never get down to zero. So ideally ending dive with a third of a tank available, or a quarter, or even a fifth. At least there's always something there, so you're never going to get to a situation. There's two big reasons why you don't want to empty a tank fully. Firstly, for safety reasons. That's going to obviously be a lot dangerous for you. Having out of air can be very life-threatening in the wrong situation if you can't get to another air source. But on top of that as well, if you fully empty your scuba diving cylinder, you're going to have to do a visual inspection afterwards. So there's also a financial downside to it as well if you do that. As always with these scuba diving accident videos, it's not to be mean to the scuba divers involved with these accidents. It's to use these as case studies so we can learn from them to have safe and happier dives ourselves. And obviously being a scuba diver instructor myself, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks along the way and give you a deep analysis at the end of the video. With that said, let's jump into it.
This is footage from my out-of-air incident that occurred on July 5th at the USS Mindanao dive site.
Okay. I'm just going to pause it so we can read that bottom text before it disappears. I accidentally left my camera recording hanging from my chest. Okay, that's actually not a bad thing. Obviously it says it's accidental, it's not intentional, but if you are going to have an accident or you're in a situation, drop the camera, leave it clipped onto your BCD or whatever so that you have both your hands free so you're easier to respond to any situation available. Obviously though, we're going to have a bit janky footage to look at though, but it should be fine.
Everything was going to plan, and I was really enjoying this location.
Okay.
I was swimming to the front of the group and then to the back, trying to get a variety of shots for the video.
Oh, he's a photographer. So I'm just going to say this, photographers and videographers on dives are some of the hardest working people on that dive and probably going to burn through the air the fastest typically as well. Because as he says, he's whizzing back and forth trying to get all the cool shots. Sometimes it's because they see some marine life, sometimes he has to go to different members of the group in the dive site to get cool shots of them one-on-one. So they are moving back and forth a lot. So if you don't have a good sac rate or good breathing rate, this is going to be one of those things where it's going to be really easy to burn through your air and you have to be careful with it. And sometimes it's very good to communicate with your guide / instructor who you're with to sometimes slow the dive down if you are feeling like, okay, I'm getting through my air a bit too fast now, I need to take it easier because I'm whizzing way too far back and forth. Also, for the guides involved as well, it's a reason why you should keep the group nice and tight so that this guy has to do less work. Oh, some text again. The voiceover doesn't exactly match the timeline. Good to know. At this point, I start becoming winded and I'm having a hard time catching my breath. Not good. I don't tell anyone. Especially not good. So, as I just said, this guy's going to be whizzing back and forth a lot, getting all the shots. So he's going to definitely get more exhausted. It's very easy to get fatigued. So if you are noticing that, feel free to communicate with the instructor. Give him a little wave and tell him to slow down. It's really important that you are feeling comfortable on this dive. You shouldn't be working hard when you need to, especially to the point where you're going to be feeling winded. Not good at all. Again, and not telling the instructor is very bad. You need to be communicating. You're working as a team. So this is bad if it's not communicating this properly.
See, I normally dive with my best friend JD.
Okay.
Me and him have dove a lot together and can easily read each other underwater.
That's good. So maybe he can spot it then.
On this particular dive, I was filling an empty seat on the boat after someone else had bailed on the trip. I didn't see this being much of an issue though.
Okay, yeah, it probably won't be an issue as long as you're still there for the briefing. If you're a photographer who's going on dive with people, even if you're probably a dive professional yourself, you should still be there to attend the briefing and still give your kind of input on it, what your role's going to be, what you're doing there, and how it's all going to work out, just so you're fully switched on as well. So as long as he was there for the briefing and was a part of that briefing, it's all good. So there's nothing wrong with him joining later to the group. I'm just going to read the text now. For some reason, I am using my hands a lot. I did notice that and I forgot to comment on it. I felt like it would help conserve air. What? It's going to do the opposite. Trying to move super slow. Obviously, this is another mistake. Yep. And I am too shaken up to realise my errors. Oh, bless him. At least he's kind of acknowledging now, I guess, in hindsight, that this was an error and it was the wrong call. Obviously, moving your arms is going to cause you to expend more energy. All the power comes from your fins, so it's absolutely pointless to use your arms. Keep your hands either crossed or in front of you Supermaning, but don't have them moving. You want them to be not wasting energy for you because this is going to cause them to get lower on air even faster too. So with all the kind of back and forth he's doing with the group and now moving his arms excessively, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Closely monitor my air and stay close to the group. I didn't realize yet that this extra swimming was setting me up for a very bad experience.
Yeah, as I say, it's going to
My
burn through your
air
air
was
faster.
much lower than everyone else's, but I just thought we were nearing the end of the dive. I was not familiar with this location, and
Why does that make me think then that he didn't go to the briefing? Because the briefing should explain what the dive site is, where you're going to go if there's a certain route and whatnot. So it's given me, I might be wrong here, but it's given me the impression that he wasn't there for the briefing, so he doesn't know when the end of the dive is, what's going on there. So he's just kind of hoping, oh, we're going to end soon, and it sounds like it's not going to end soon. Yeah, this is really, really concerning.
with the viz sometimes dropping to 15 feet or less, I just
Okay.
played follow the leader
5-ish
to get
meters.
back to the anchor line. But I kept wondering how soon will that happen. Eventually, the group stops to compare air.
Okay,
Most everybody was around 1500 psi.
that's half a tank.
I glance at mine and see 900.
That's less than a third of a tank.
I'm thinking, dang, that's the end of the dive. And Keith,
It is. So for a lot of divers, as I said at the start of the video, you typically want to end the dive with about a third of your tank remaining. If you're more aggressive, you might go down to a quarter or even a fifth. But typically you don't want to go beyond those kind of points because it does get a lot more risky there and has a high chance of getting out of there if things do go wrong.
our leader, gives the signal to turn around. We start swimming back in just a mild current along the
By the way, he's turned the dive at half a tank. That's very standard. Once you get to half the tank, you often turn the dive around. It can be sometimes a bit more sooner than that, but maybe at 2/3 of a tank. But it's not uncommon to be half a tank as well.
bottom. We make some progress, and I can start to see what I thought was the ascent location, but it wasn't.
Oh dear. I'm taking note of other divers' locations in case I run out unexpectedly. This is a good call. Be aware of all your air sources, what your options are. If you can't get to the guide leader, you always have the clients. Yes, it's not very professional. Yes, it might be a bit weird, but it's always something to be. It's better to be safe here than looking professional sometimes. And you just explain on surface. If you need to have an ego and want to protect yourself, you say I had an equipment failure. But realistically, you could just be like, I goofed up, or I'm still learning. That's completely fine too. I think people tend to understand these situations. But it's good that he's thinking about, well, if things are going wrong, I should do this. But you should really be communicating with the instructor right now. Hey, dude, I am getting pretty low myself. Go low on air signal, or tell him even what you're on. So he knows to be mindful of it, that you are burning through your gas quite a bit.
Just more concrete casings. I go to check my air again and feel that my SPG hose feels very limp.
Okay.
I read
Back in.
400 psi. I wave down Keith and give him the sign for low air.
Yeah. You shouldn't be wanting to get this low, by the way. That's way too low.
He nods and points in a direction and begins to swim hard. It looks
Why would you do that? That's the wrong call. I actually feel bad for the guy now a bit more, because that's the wrong call. The guide / instructor, when he know he's that low on gas / air, he should have, instead of thinking swim away, he should have just given the alternate so that you then make sure he's got enough air, he's not going to run out. Because he's getting to that point where it's getting to a point where it's dangerously low. You don't want it to be completely emptied. So him darting off now, I'm guessing he's trying to get to the end quicker, but it's actually going to create more of a problem. It's going to cause him to have to breathe harder, so he's going to burn through that gas faster now. So it's actually going to cause him to get out of air even quicker by doing this. It's better just go a steady rate, because you can actually breathe correctly and not have this situation. This is the wrong call.
like he is descending again, and I feel frightened as I chase after him.
Yeah.
I can hardly catch my breath, and I start to slow down. I feel like my CO2 is climbing.
That's a very good point. So yeah, as I just said, it's creating more of an issue, but because he's having to breathe harder, so he's going to be like, because he's having to exert really hard right now, he's going to have his real, not quite hyperventilating, but he's going to be breathing a lot more harder. It actually can create a CO2 buildup in your body. So just so anyone doesn't understand the basics here, when you breathe in, you're filling your lungs up with air. When you breathe out, you want to expel that. But the air is not the same as it when it came in. It metabolizes into carbon dioxide. And you want to make sure when you're exhaling, you're fully clearing it out. That's why you have the urge to exhale after you inhale to clear that carbon dioxide out of your body. If it doesn't clear fully out of your body, it can cause you to have headaches, feel a bit lightheaded, feel a bit kind of woozy. So it's really important that it's fully cleared, and you need to do full long exhales. However, because he's having to kick harder right now, he's needing more oxygen. His body's demanding more oxygen. So before he can fully exhale, his body wants to take another breath in to kind of keep up sort of thing so he can still exert the way he needs to move at the speed underwater. So it's not allowing him to exhale properly, which is causing this problem now that he's going to start to make probably bad judgment calls because he's not feeling quite right in the head at the moment.
While trying to conserve air.
This is so bad, guys. He's not going to be able to reach him right now because he's too far away.
I check my gauge again and see 200. Now I am starting to panic.
Yep, and that's the other issue. So when you get low on air, obviously, ideally you want to be able to breathe slower to make that last as long as possible, but stress will start to become a factor. You are consciously going, oh no, I'm going to run out right now. So you actually will subconsciously start breathing harder and worse it won't be ideal breathing anymore. It's going to get worse and worse. So he's actually going to burn through that even faster than he was before. So this is really, really alarming.
I'm taking smaller breaths than normal, thinking it will make a difference.
Opposite effects.
But it has a very negative effect by increasing my CO2 levels even further and making me feel like I'm running a marathon, huffing and puffing my air even faster.
Almost hyperventilating almost, doing like that. He knows I'm low, so I give him an okay. Since I'm still breathing. I want to say bless him so much. Like, I've still got some air in the tank, so I'm okay. No. You need to literally be like, I'm out of air at this point. Like, if you're at a point it's going to be out of air in like literally less than a minute or so right now from how he's going, just give the out of air. I'd do it prematurely at this point, just let him know, because you just need to get sorted out, because you are really running a risk of that getting down to 0 and having this whole situation that you're not near anyone to actually get to an air source. He's too far away right now. That's quite a bit of a distance. It's going to cause a lot more strain on you than it needs to. Just give the out of air. Giving the okay is the wrong signal, because from a guide/instructor perspective, you're like, oh, maybe he's got more in the tank than I thought he did when he gave that low on air signal. This is bad. You should really communicate this better. That is not good at all. Oh, there's someone near him there though. You could go to them if need be.
I'm swimming full bore at Keith, and right before I reach him, it's getting hard to pull air with less than 100 psi.
So that means he's got an unbalanced regulator. So unbalanced regulators get harder and harder to breathe as the pressure decreases in the tank. This is why I often recommend, if you're going to get your own regulator set, make sure they are balanced, because it's always the same amount of breathing ease regardless of the pressure in the tank. This is one of the things I always think is kind of dangerous with the unbalanced ones, because it will get tighter and tighter, the breathing will do as it gets lower, and that will add to the stress and cause you to freak out more, so thus breathing worse and getting basically to that 0 faster. Basically, all the factors here are making it worse for him, so it's going to get to running out of air a lot faster.
I can just reach his fins, and I start trying to tug on one to get his attention.
Okay, this is where
he turns around, and I let him know I'm in trouble. He turns as if he is about to start swimming fast.
This buddy communication is killing me. No! I just want to shake them like, no! So, I don't know what he meant by he told him that he's in trouble. You should just give him out of air. Just out of air. You are literally about to run out of air. There's no like, I'm not feeling too good.
I don't feel so good.
You're alright.
But him just turning away, the guide instructor turning away, is weird here. You should probably see he's probably got very wide eyes. He's probably looking a bit freaked out and not looking good. This is one of the situations like, it's turning away from him right now is the wrong call. Like, if there's any time right now, this would have been the time to give him the alternate, not just swim away and continue, because he's not good.
And I am in terror.
Oh god.
I know at this point I'm in serious trouble. I'm not sure if
So
I
far away
should
again.
speed up and catch Keith
You won't
or
be able
head
to.
for the surface right where I'm at. I remember vividly thinking, I'm going to end up killing myself on this dive.
Not what you want to
Little
have.
did I know, he was pointing at the anchor line, showing me we are back.
Oh, the end point now. Is it going to get to him just in time now? Oh gosh. Oh, there must be a sending because it's beeping. Going up a bit too fast maybe.
But the tank runs empty.
Oh no. Get that alternate. You can see the alternate right there. Just grab it. Grab it. Grab it.
He immediately gives me his octo and we start to share air on the safety stop.
Okay, good. Finally.
My empty tank is so buoyant that I had to complete my stop upside down. which, all things considered, was fine by me.
No.
I feel embarrassed as the rest of the group
Oh.
make their way up the anchor line and see that I'm sitting there out of air. I made multiple mistakes on this dive,
You did.
and I admit that. I will never again assume that the dive is almost complete.
Mm-hmm.
I gave the OK signal multiple times, even though I wasn't okay.
Yep. Anything else to add, or is that all you think? I like his own up to his
Very
problems.
busy with multiple new divers, and I didn't want to burden him by telling him I'm out of air every 5 minutes.
Ego got in the way big time. 100% agree. He knows me very well, including my experience. However, I was trying to be a pro and withheld vital information. That's very true. He found out way too late. I think there's too much blame you're taking on yourself and not enough blame on him. You gave the low on air signal and he didn't... If I was guiding that dive, just kind of put myself in the shoes of his friend there, he should have actually been asked for more specific. Just ask him, what actually is your pressure? Tell me what that is. Don't just go low. How low is low? And then maybe that's pre-agreed on before the dive. Low means something, but he really should let him know if that was the case. And knowing that he was like almost about to get that low, he should have given the alternate straight away. So then when you had to swim then to the exit point, he's on air. You don't have to worry about him running out of gas before he gets to that exit point. Yeah, so I think there's definitely issues with the guides as well.
I was hesitant on sharing this, but realized how wrong I was when I was thinking. Nobody is a burden down there. We are all friends.
Yeah.
And want our friends to make it back.
Definitely.
They
Safety's
told
the
me
important
that
thing.
confidence is dangerous, and it certainly is. I just didn't even realize what I was doing to myself.
I think confidence is the wrong word. It's not confidence. It's more like naivete, I think. That's how I'd define how he did. I'm guessing that's the video. Yeah. Maybe just more upside down footage right now. Oh, bless him. I'm guessing from how much time's left, you're not going to see the full safety stop time. It's probably going to cut out. Why is that guy so far away? They should be closer to if they're part of the group. That's weird. But yeah, I feel like he's kind of owned up to a lot of the problems himself. Maybe took on a bit too much blame. But yeah, very, very interesting video. Really enjoyed that one. Especially the fact that he's very much aware of his own issues with it. He sounds like someone, I don't know what his actual certification level is. He seems like someone who's either like a dive master trainee kind of level, something around that, if I'm going to guess. Just the fact that he's been a photographer. You don't want someone who's inexperienced, as I said at the start of the video, to be a photographer. You want them to be someone who's got a good breathing rate so they actually can swim around between the divers, get all the shots, and not have to worry about running out of air. But yeah, 100% agree with a lot of the kind of verdicts here. He should have communicated more clearly how low on air he actually specifically was. I think the guide could have jumped in and gave him the alternate sooner so that when they had to come to the exit points, he knew that he wasn't going to run out of air. He could have had him close with him and make sure he was okay. I think the ascent was a bit fast at the end there as well, which wasn't brilliant because I heard the beeping of the computer, so still go steady. There's no point to like rush up at the very end. That's just going to increase the chance of DCS, also known as the bends, which obviously isn't great. And just to touch on why was he upside down at the end of the dive? So scuba cylinders, as their pressure decreases, become more and more positively buoyant. So it's going to start pulling him up more and more so as the dive goes on. So when it comes down to it being completely empty, it's going to be very positively buoyant. Now, a lot of divers want to do their weighting and the weight belts. That is to get them both down on the dives, but also to keep them down as that tank gets more and more positively buoyant, so that counteracts this issue. But when it gets down to zero, most divers don't weight themselves for a completely empty tank because you should never really be getting there. So even if he did have correct weighting on for himself, because it's completely empty, it won't be enough typically to keep him actually from floating upwards. So that's why he's in that weird situation where the tank's pulling him up so much, and he just kind of had to stay with it. And I guess at that point he's just kind of happy that he has an air source, so we've just kind of embraced that. He looks a bit silly. But as I say, I really enjoy the fact that he's owning up to his mistakes. I think he's feeling a bit too guilty on himself though, because again, it's always shared, the kind of responsibility. Because as he says at the end, we're all friends underwater, we should all be working as a team underwater. It's one of those things where if they just communicate better, I think if he was also a bit more like there for the briefing by sounds of things, so he knew the dive site and knows how long further he's got to go in the dive and if it's going to be more of an issue. I think stuff like that could have been really helpful for him. So him trying to keep his cool and pretend he's not a problem is a big issue. Just to share a bit of story time with you guys myself, I know situations like this from back when I was a dive master trainee, also known as a DMT. When you work as a dive master trainee doing your internship, or if you're just doing it as like a customer, you still will help out on dives. You'll be there kind of assisting instructor. And often you have these situations where instructors at the front guiding, you have the clients, and you'll be behind and slightly above the ones there, and your job's there to catch anyone who might float up to help them, while the instructors then can then coach them to like breathe out more or whatnot, while they have the bad points to control. And you can actually be quite hard work because you're trying to catch all these divers, and you kind of working harder than you expect to with these dives. And I had it a few times when I got quite low on gas. So one time I was about 20 bar, I got down to, another time I got down to almost 15, I think. So it can happen. And again, I didn't tell my instructors until I got back to the boat, and they're like, whoa, why didn't you say something if you're getting that low? And it's because ego was in the way. I didn't want to be a burden, as he said there. I didn't want to let them know that, or I didn't want to cause a dive to end early so it looked bad for the clients. I will say I have experienced people in the past when they are really arsey about stuff like this, because they're like, oh, why did the dive end early? Oh, it's because so-and-so was low on air. And people get kind of mad at even like another client just because the dive got ended early because they have so much pressure still left in their tank. And it's really unfortunate, but I know it gets even more exacerbated if it's towards the professional there. If one of the pros are like, oh, I got low on air, even though my customers will still got plenty of air left, they get kind of mad that you call the dive early. It's one of those awkward things, and you have to kind of always appease clients. So I can get why some people aren't going to be always truthful with it, but generally safety comes first. I just want to remind on that. Feelings afterwards are a whole other thing. You can always appease people afterwards if you want to do something like that, but don't be like, oh, they're going to get mad at me, so I'm not going to tell them that I'm about to run out of gas. No, always stay safe. Do not let your ego get in the way. Anyway, divers, if you think you've missed anything out in the video, please leave a comment down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, you should check out this video here. I think you're going to enjoy that one. And also, if you want to see more from myself, hit that box here. That's going to help you subscribe to me. Anyway, divers, I hope you have an awesome and safe dives, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.